Because progress after knee replacement is not perfectly linear. There are weeks where things feel easier and weeks where things feel harder. And your mindset influences whether you interpret those moments as a sign to stop or a signal to stay consistent. Are you ready to get back to what you love after knee replacement? The Total Knee Success Podcast is your trusted guide with practical tips, evidence-based strategies, and no fluff. It's not personal medical advice, just solid education to help you manage pain, regain mobility, and get back to living the life you love. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Total Knee Success Podcast. I'm Michelle. In the last episode, we talked about how long a knee replacement can last and how that 10-year idea doesn't reflect what current research shows. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what actually influences your outcome after knee replacement and how to focus your energy on the factors that you can control. Because when people think about outcomes after surgery, the focus often goes straight to the procedure itself. Was it done well? Was the implant placed correctly? Did everything go as planned? And those things do play a very important role, but they're not the whole story. What research consistently shows is that your outcome is influenced by a combination of factors, some related to the surgery and many that extend beyond it. And understanding that can completely change how you approach this process. Because it shifts the question from will this surgery work to what can I do to support the best possible outcome? And that's where your role becomes much more active. One of the most consistent findings in the research is the importance of your starting point. Studies have shown that your strength and functional ability before surgery are associated with how you do afterward. In practical terms, that means the stronger and more functional you are going into surgery, the more you have to work with coming out of it. This is one of the reasons prehabilitation has become such an important part of the conversation. If you're in that stage right now and want a structured way to approach it, I've put together a resource called the Knee Replacement Game Plan. You can find more information in the show notes if that would be helpful. Research led by Gränicher and colleagues found that targeted exercise before surgery can improve knee function in the early phases after surgery. That doesn't mean it changes everything long-term, but it does influence how you move, how you tolerate activity, and how you progress in those early stages. And those early stages often set the tone for what follows. I see this clinically all the time. Two people can have the exact same surgery, same surgeon, same implant, same procedure, and yet their experiences afterward can look very different. One person comes in walking well most days, able to get up and down stairs, and with enough strength to move with confidence. They feel steady and capable, and they are able to engage their muscles well, and they follow a structured plan. The other person has been avoiding stairs, sitting more, and relying heavily on the other leg. They feel hesitant and unsure when they move, and over time movement has decreased, strength has declined, and activity has been reduced. And if this sounds familiar, it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It reflects what often happens when movement becomes painful or uncertain over time. And it also means there's still room to rebuild strength, improve movement, and change the direction you're heading. After surgery, both are starting from different places, and the difference shows up quickly, not because the surgery was different, but because the starting point was different. Another factor that plays a significant role is how consistently you engage in rehabilitation after surgery. We often think of physical therapy as something that happens a few times a week in the clinic. What the research shows is that outcomes are influenced much more by what happens outside of those sessions. The exercises you do on your own, the way you move throughout the day, how consistently you follow through over time. Large cohort studies, including work led by Minnick and Kappen, show that structured rehabilitation approaches are associated with meaningful improvements in function after knee replacement, while also showing that outcomes vary depending on how care is delivered and followed. Within those programs, there's still variation, and that variation often comes down to engagement and consistency. This doesn't mean doing more is always better. It means doing the right things consistently over time is what matters. And that's where guidance becomes important, because knowing what to do and when to do it can make a difference in how you progress. Another piece that is sometimes overlooked is how movement quality evolves after surgery. It's not just about bending and straightening the knee. It's about how you walk, how you sit and stand, how you go up and down stairs, and how your body distributes load during those activities. And this is where I'll plug physical therapy. Your therapist can watch how you're moving and give you coaching on how to improve movement patterns. Changes in movement patterns can influence how the joint's used over time. Research exploring dynamic movement control, including work by Nunez and colleagues, suggests that how people move is linked to pain and functional outcomes. So part of rehabilitation is not just restoring motion, but retraining movement, helping the body adapt to a new joint in a way that supports long-term function. Health factors also play a role. Things like overall activity levels, cardiovascular fitness, and how much your body is used in regular movement can influence how your body responds after surgery. These factors can affect endurance, strength, and how easily you're able to stay active throughout each day. For some people, factors like body weight can also play a role, but they are only one of several factors that influence your outcome. That doesn't mean you can't have a good outcome, but it does mean that your overall health is part of the picture. And that's important to recognize because it reinforces the idea that this is not just one surgical event. It's a broader process that involves your entire system. Another important concept is expectations. What you expect going into surgery can influence how you interpret your progress afterward. If you expect everything to feel normal very quickly, normal variations in progress can feel like setbacks, and they aren't always setbacks. But if you understand that improvement happens over time and that it can vary from week to week, you're more likely to stay engaged and consistent. This is also where mindset comes in. Research in psychology, including the work of Carol Dweck, has shown that people tend to approach challenges with either a fixed mindset or a growth-oriented mindset. A fixed mindset sounds like, this just isn't working, or I'm not getting better fast enough. And when that happens, it often leads to frustration and pulling back from the process. A growth-oriented mindset sounds more like, this is taking time, but I'm improving. Or I can get better if I keep working at this. And that shift changes how you respond to the ups and downs along the way. Because progress after knee replacement is not perfectly linear. There are weeks where things feel easier and weeks where things feel harder. And your mindset influences whether you interpret those moments as a sign to stop or a signal to stay consistent. In practice, this often shows up in small, everyday decisions. On a harder day, a fixed mindset might sound like, I should skip today, or something must be wrong. And that can lead to doing less, moving less, and gradually losing momentum. A growth-oriented mindset on that same day might sound something like, this feels harder today, but I can still do something. Or I may need to adjust, but I'm still moving forward. And that usually leads to staying engaged, even if the effort looks a little different. And over time, those small decisions, whether you continue or pull back, start to accumulate. That's where mindset begins to influence not just how you feel about your progress, but how consistently you participate. This is where education plays a key role, understanding what typical progress looks like, knowing what to focus on at each stage, and being able to interpret your own experience within that context. All of these factors, your starting point, your consistency with rehabilitation, your movement patterns, your overall health, and your expectations come together to influence your outcome. And when you look at it that way, it becomes clear that there is no single factor that determines success. It's the combination, which means there are multiple opportunities to influence the direction you're heading. And that's where your agency comes in. Because while you can't control every variable, there are key areas where your actions have a direct impact. You can work on your strength before surgery. You can stay consistent with your exercises afterward. You can pay attention to how you move. You can manage your overall health as best as possible. And you can seek out information that helps you understand what's happening along the way. These are all meaningful levers. When you focus on these, the conversation shifts. It becomes less about hoping for a good outcome and more about actively supporting one. If you want education that's designed to match each stage of recovery, one place to get it is the Total Knee Success Insider. It's free, delivered directly to your inbox, and designed to move with you through each phase. So whether you're preparing for surgery or working to regain strength and mobility, you're not guessing what to do next. If you're ready to take that step with a bit more structure, you can subscribe by clicking on the link in the show notes. In the next episode, we're going to build on this even further. We'll talk about why strength is sometimes a missing piece after knee replacement and how your muscles work alongside the new joint to drive your results. Because understanding how to rebuild strength changes what you focus on as you progress through your rehabilitation. So as you move forward from this episode, I want you to take one simple idea with you. Your outcome is not decided for you. It's shaped step by step by what you do before surgery, how you approach your recovery, and how consistently you stay engaged along the way. And over time, that shift from maybe feeling hesitant and unsure to feeling steady and capable, it's what starts to change how you move, how you recover, and how you see your progress. You don't have to do everything perfectly, but you do need to stay involved in the process. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Michelle, and this has been the Total Knee Success Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Discover more at totalkneesuccess.com, and be sure to subscribe and share, because every step forward takes you closer to living the life you love.